YLP is a Russian flashlight manufacturer with the lights being produced in China that is new to the US market. Their name, when translated, roughly means bright ray. They have been known to enthusiasts for a few years, but have been a little bit more difficult to buy their lights, having to use Google Translate version of their website. Recently, they have launched a US English version of their website and got in touch for me to take a look at some of their lights. I chose the YLP Unicorn as it's been on my radar since last year. Thanks to them for sending this out to me to review, and I've got a discount in the description along with links to follow me on various social media platforms, so make sure you check those out. This will probably be a little bit longer review, so settle back and enjoy. Here is the packaging that the Unicorn 1.0 comes in. It's a nice magnetic closure box, and on the front here you've got a picture of the light. It's a nice black and orange and white silver design. You've got some stats on the light: 850 lumens, 125 meters, 33 hours of runtime, IPX8 water rated, 90 CRI. On the back goes through some of the physical characteristics of the light, telling you it's IPX8 water related, it's got a TIR optic, it's using the Samsung LHD351D LED, 90 CRI, it's neutral white, 4000 Kelvin, battery's not included. You don't get much with the light. You get a manual that is in Russian and English. There is an advanced manual that is useful if you're going to use some of the advanced UI. I will include a link to that in the description and on my blog post, so make sure you check that out. You'll want it. You get a lanyard and a couple extra O-rings, and then the flashlight sits in this nice foam box. Another thing I'll add is the box this thing shipped in was pretty cool. It had a bunch of Russian stamps on it and tape, a lot more interesting than some of the lights you get from China. So the construction: this light is made from aluminum and is hard anodized in a gray brown, almost tan color. I've got my LumenTop FW3A here, and just to compare on colors, you can see it's quite a bit different. Then here's a standard black anodized flashlight. I really like this color, and I'm glad they went with something different. The clip is coated to match. Branding on this light is incredibly minimal. There is hardly any. It doesn't even tell you the light's manufacturer on here. It doesn't even say YLP on it. The only branding is the tail cap. You've got this Unicorn 1.0 logo laser engraved on there, and it's kind of neat they designed that. The tail cap itself is flat, and it is magnetic, and it's a very strong magnet. Zero problems with this light on here. On normal situations, obviously vibrations will pull most lights off. You can remove the magnet inside with that tail cap if you want to. It's really easy to do so. You just take out that inner spring and then the magnet comes out. You've got a place for a lanyard hole here. Threads on the interior of the cap are really beefy, square, and nicely lubricated. The knurling on the body and the tube here is aggressive. It feels good in my hands, but you may see some accelerated wear in your pans underneath that clip. There is a Y shape milled in here, which I think just adds some nice visual styling to the light. You've got a little bit of machining marks here. I think that's done on purpose for styling, and I like it. The tube itself is not removable. It is glued to the head. The head itself has some shallow heat sinks here. Then you've got this raised part where the button sits inside of. The button itself is recessed and has a aluminum ring around it. It's got a clear window on there, and when the light's on, you get a red and green LED. Up at the front, you've got a flat bezel. You've got a TIR optic in there that is plastic, and there is no glass lens on this light. It's just the optic. So over time, you may see a few scratches on there. Not a huge deal, and my LED is nicely centered. The YLP Unicorn is pretty compact for what it offers here. I measured its overall length at 102 millimeters, maximum diameter in the head at 27 millimeters, and minimum diameter on the body at 25 millimeters. When I compare it to the LumenTop FW3A, it's about 20 millimeters longer, and the WUKOS FC11, which I reviewed earlier on, you can see is longer than all three lights. It is using that same Samsung emitter. Weight of the Unicorn with the Sony VTC6 battery and the clip came in at 113.6 grams, and when I compare that to the FW3A, 98.2, and the WUKOS FC11 is 111.8 grams. Retention on the Unicorn 1.0, it features a removable pocket clip here. It's spring steel, and you can reverse it on either side of the light if you like. I like it back here at the end, and while I really typically like deep carry pocket clips, and this isn't super deep, it really does a nice job when carried. The large diameter hoop here in the clip allows it to go over jeans, no problem, and it's got a little bit of a lip up there to help it carry deeper. It's a good combination for carry, in my opinion. You've also got that magnetic tail cap, so that's a lot of utility that a lot of people like as well. With this recessed button here, I had zero issues with it activating in my pocket. The one downside I'd say is the button is fairly small and it might be hard to hit if you're wearing heavy gloves. The YLP Unicorn is using a 4200 Kelvin Samsung LHD351D LED, and it's got a minimum CRI of 90, which is fantastic. And this is one of my favorite emitters right now, and it's a fantastic choice for EDC in my opinion. It's warmer in tint and doesn't have that green that the LH351D in the Wukos FC11 had that I tested about a month ago. My LED was nicely centered inside the TIR optic, and as I mentioned, the light doesn't have a glass lens here, so you might see some scratches over time. The beam pattern does have a little bit of a hot defined center with a transition to spill, and isn't the smoothest, but this isn't bad either. It's a good beam, not the best beam. Okay, here is my YLP Unicorn night shots. This is running the Samsung LH351D 4200 Kelvin, 90 CRI, and this is in its lowest mode, 3 lumens, and it's a good representation of the beam quality here and the beam shot. It's a good useful EDC beam in my opinion. Bumping up here is low, 40 lumens, and we can see here this is starting to throw decently nicely. We can see how nice it illuminates my deck and the major source of color right now in my yard. Bumping up one more time, here is medium at 170 lumens. Again, reasonable output. You can see it pretty well. I've got the camera adjusted to what my eye is seeing. One more time, here is high, 450 lumens. This isn't a thrower, but it's illuminating my backyard just fine and the neighbors. And then one more mode, here is the highest mode, turbo, 850 lumens. Again, not the highest output light, but this is very effective for EDC. It's more than enough light to use. You trade that little bit lower output for high quality light, a good beam, and longer run times. Now here is my Wukos FC11. Reviewed this light a couple weeks ago. It's also using the Samsung LH351D, but in 5000 tint. And you can see this light is more green. If I try and compare the two here, here's the Wukos, and here is the YLP. I prefer that warmer color of the YLP. I just think it's a nicer tint. It's a more pleasing to my eye. But here is the 5000 Kelvin roughly of the Wukos. Still nice tint, high CRI. The Wukos is brighter in turbo mode than the highest mode that the YLP does, but it's not a huge difference with the beam quality. This is about 1300 lumens and this is 850. Again, not that big a deal. One of the side effects of this light not being designed for huge output numbers is heat is well controlled, and it's also configurable in the UI if you want to adjust it for regulation. So in 1 minute I saw 90 degrees Fahrenheit, 5 minutes 101, and 10 minutes 104. I measured parasitic drain of the E-switch at 22 microamps, which is pretty minimal, not a huge concern. Officially, the light produces the following in its default UI. Turbo is 850 lumens, high is 450 lumens, medium is 170 lumens, low is 40 lumens, and moon is 3 lumens. The one area I wish they'd change there is I wish moon was 1 lumen or less. 3 lumens is a little bit bright. My runtimes here had no big surprises from the regulated driver here. I performed my tests using a 3000 milliamp hour Sony VT6 battery, but you don't need such a high output battery with this light. Turbo runtime was good here at just under 4 minutes, and when we saw step downs to about 65% relative output, this continued to decline to about 50% output at the 30-minute mark or so. So the light started increasing in output as it cooled, and the battery was able to keep up, not a problem. This peaked at 60% relative output before a sharp decline to the light running in the lowest mode for about 130-minute lumen mark, and continuing out till low voltage protection kicked in at 2.859 volts at around 300 minutes. It's nice to see active thermal controls on this one for this price range. This light has 4 different UI modes. By default, it comes in what YLP calls basic UI, where there are 5 discrete modes and memory mode is turned on. It starts off in low, which I have it on here, and if you hold the button, it ramps up, and then if you keep holding it, will ramp down, and this will repeat and cycle. Single click to turn off, double click gets you maximum output, 4 clicks gets you battery check mode when the light is on, and it tells you your voltage. The way the basic UI works, cycling up and down instead of resetting, so instead of going low, medium, high, turbo, low, medium, high, turbo, this one goes low, medium, high, turbo, high, medium, low. I'm not a huge fan of that, but it's not bad either. Once you get used to it, you understand it. It's just different from other lights. I kind of prefer the only one direction linear. That said, you've got other modes in here. The other main UI modes are UI1, which includes ramping with memory mode turned on, UI2, which is ramping with memory mode turned on and the buttons lights turned off here at the front. UI3 is 5 modes, memory off and starting on medium instead of low. The light has other advanced features, which it's really best if you look at the advanced manual on the YLP website. I'll have links to that in my blog post and on the description of this video. You can go in and adjust thermal settings. You can go into engineering modes where you can configure each UI mode. For time's sake of this review, I won't go into that, but the manual has you covered and does a pretty good job of explaining this. So the pros for me are it's great overall size and clip. It's a wide acceptance of battery types here, flat tops, button tops, protected, unprotected. It takes all 18650. It's not another black light. It's got a great LED and tint choice with high CRI, and it's a very flexible user interface. For me, the default UI is just fine, but there's ramping if you want it, and then that engineering mode if you want to get advanced. The cons are knurling here is quite aggressive. If you're going to EDC this, I would expect a little bit of additional pocket wear than a normal flashlight. It's not the brightest light in this class, but it's more than enough to get the job done, and it emphasizes runtime over pure output. Low mode, I think, should be 1 lumen or less, and I've got a little bit of minor annoyance with that basic UI. I wish it was completely linear instead of going up and then down. My conclusion is this is a light designed with practicality in mind instead of big numbers in output. As a result, it can sustain itself on higher outputs without large step downs for a little bit longer time. It's using a fantastic high CRI LED with a pleasant tint and a very useful beam pattern for EDC. For me, it really ticks all the boxes and what I want for a general purpose solid flashlight. And it's not too expensive either. I've taken this light walking several times over the last few weeks and liked it quite a bit. That useful beam pattern is nice, and the tint and high CRI LED are fantastic. It's got a lot of UI options, so you can make adjustments here if it's not quite what you want in default. For me, the default UI is pretty good. I hope we see YLP continue the Unicorn line of lights and making enhancements and tweaks as we go along. At this price point, it's a lot of value, and it comes in significantly less than some of the well-known brands that also share animal names. I look forward to seeing other lights from YLP after reviewing the Unicorn 1.0. The bar was set high, so let's see what they can deliver in the future. I recommend the YLP Unicorn 1.0 without reservations. If you're considering picking up the Unicorn, make sure you check out the description below for a link to their English website and a code to save 15% off. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think of the YLP Unicorn, or if you've even got one, what your experiences have been. As always, guys, I appreciate you liking these videos, subscribing to the channel, sharing with your friends, and I'll make sure to catch you on the next review.